welcome to Sectors Up Close. I'm Elena Casas. Our focus today is on Indian equities, and my guest is Schoenfeld, CEO of MV Indexes. India chalked up 8.7% growth in the year to May, and the IMF predicts it will keep growing faster than any major economy this year. A vibrant middle class is splashing the cash on cars, real estate and vacations in a surge of post-pandemic spending. But sky-high unemployment also means tens of millions of people are struggling with soaring food and fuel prices as the country's central bank forecast inflation will hit 6.7% this year. India has banned food exports to try and bring prices under control, and two-thirds of Indians are receiving free grain from the government to help make ends meet. Well, this is India's benchmark 30-share S&P BSE Sensex. It gained about 25% in 2021 and is down just 9% year-to-date, far outpacing most emerging markets benchmarks. Analysts say there's been a surge in interest from international investors, especially as they reallocate portfolios away from China. But could moves by investors and central banks on the other side of the globe put an end to that? To find out, let's ask Schoenfeld, CEO of Market Vector Indexes. Stephen, hi. To start with, India is increasingly online, isn't it, as low data costs bring the internet to millions of people. What does that mean for investors?
We believe that India has one of the most attractive digital economy opportunities in the world. The rural population is becoming online. The government has firm policies to empower digital India, and the companies that are leading this revolution are at the cutting edge of world technology and are bringing it to the Indian population. This is going to create enormous opportunities, both to bring the masses in the rural areas up digital proficiency and to greatly expand India's middle class, which is already bigger than the population of all but 5 countries in the world.
Are there any specific companies or tech initiatives that you find particularly exciting in this space?
Probably too numerous to mention in a short segment, but just to give you an example, Tata Consulting Services, which is 7% of our Digital India Index, it has a partnership with the Reserve Bank of India, which every month is processing 260 million payments worth about $1.5 trillion. It is bringing payments into the modern era for all sectors of the Indian economy. Infosys is also one of the largest tech companies in the world, at the forefront of digital India, and a company named Emphasis is a leader in quantum computing and helping digitize both industry and retailing in India.
Let's talk about energy, Stephen. India is a huge oil importer, and of course inflation there is really being driven by the surge in the global price. Is it moving away from dependency on fossil fuels, and are there opportunities there?
So India still is very dependent on energy. One can debate the morality of it, but it has been buying a lot of oil energy from Russia as Russia's other markets have closed off. Investors around the world see India as one of the most promising clean energy opportunities, and the government is behind it. What I would say is it might be postponed a little, but the imperative both to meet global climate goals and to make India more energy independent are very much underway. And it is bringing the best technology from around the world, from the US, from China, from Israel, to create energy efficiency. So I am very optimistic about investment in that space.
What about the interest rate hikes that high inflation is sparking around the world? Is there a risk that India's central bank will hike so steeply it could take some of the energy out of the stock market there?
So the RBI has a dilemma. It has to look at global rates, but India's economy, I would say, even though the growth is there, it's not as hot as Europe and the US. I think the RBI is going to try to be restrained. If they do have to raise rates, they will do so gradually, trying to avoid any taper tantrums that we've seen from earlier in the last decade.
You mentioned it there. In 2013, the Fed's rate hike cycle was quite damaging for India. Is that no longer a danger?
Well, it's always going to be a danger, but I think the Reserve Bank of India has other options. And because you don't have the same tight employment markets in India, they won't feel the same pressure to raise from that perspective. In fact, one of India's challenges is that it produces so many graduates every year. That's one of the great things about India's demographics, is a young and growing population. But the economy needs to absorb that. And that, again, is why I'm so optimistic about the digital transformation of India. Close to 50% of new jobs in the private sector are in information technology. When you add digitization of traditional industries and new industries like online shopping, I believe that that is what's going to absorb India's very well-educated annual graduate class and others who are underemployed in the economy.
For the international investor, then, who would like to be exposed to India and isn't yet, what's your advice?
Well, our company, Market Vector Indexes, produces a digital India index, which is tracked by a US ETF, and we hope it will be tracked by other ETFs around the world. It captures the full scope of the story of digital India, including core digital areas and new areas that are being transformed by digital. It includes blue chip Indian tech like Infosys, Reliance Industries, and sort of cutting edge new digital companies like Zomato, I might be pronouncing it wrong, which is transforming the eating habits of many Indians. We think this is a great way to put in a single basket the growth of India's digital sector. We think for global emerging market investors, it's a great way to add tech sector growth into an emerging market portfolio.
Well, thanks so much for that insight, Stephen Schoenfeld, CEO of Market Vector Indexes. Well, before I go, here are some of the stories we're following in this space. Indian telecom companies, including Reliance Industries' Jio, are likely to make muted bids for the country's 5G spectrum when it comes up for auction in July, amid concerns they could stand to lose about 40% of potential revenues because some airwaves have already been allotted to corporations, including Amazon and Tata Consultancy, for private networks. More than 150 people have died in flooding in the Indian state of Assam and neighbouring Bangladesh, while millions are displaced by the floodwaters. Almost 100,000 hectares of cropland in more than 2,000 villages have been submerged. And hundreds of demonstrators in Rajasthan defied a police ban on public gatherings this Thursday to march in protest against the killing of a Hindu tailor in Udaipur. Two Muslims posted a video online claiming responsibility. Rajasthan has suspended internet services to try and reduce the risk of further religious violence. And that's your roundup of Indian equities. I'm Elena Casas, and this is Reuters.